we are going to start with Jeff Gampel. Jeff, you're up with the amazing Mace Curran.
Amazing Mace. I've been fortunate to be part of this organization for about 6 months. I've heard a lot of authors. I was giddy this morning waiting for this. I mean, actually, just anxiety. It's like, is it 12 o'clock yet? And so loved it. So here's the deal. So you're up at 40,000 feet, and you pass that threshold of 770 miles an hour. I read it this morning. I'm not that smart. Okay. And then you come back and they say to you, you shouldn't have done that. I read that. And they give you the name Mace. So give it up. Come on. So what's Mace all about?
I knew someone was going to ask this question. I'm glad we're hitting it right out the gate. So it was a little bit lower, but I'll tell you the whole story. I'll try to tell it quickly since we have a lot of questions. So my first assignment in Japan, first combat squadron, just came out of the formal F-16 training pipeline. My second flight in country was dogfighting. BFM is what we call it, but what you would know is dogfighting, one aircraft versus another, air-to-air maneuvering, where I'm trying to get that other aircraft in front of my nose so I can employ the gun against it. And this is a basic mission set that you do fairly often, even though we don't have many air-to-air wars or any at all going on. Let's hope it stays that way. It's just a great skill set. So we did that on a regular basis. And my instructor pilot was in the other aircraft. And I was very young and very new. And I learned to fly the F-16 in Phoenix in the summer. And jet engines perform a lot better in cold air. And now I'm in Misawa, which is northern Japan, where they get a ton of snow. And it's December. And the engine was also slightly different with that one having more power. And so at the start of this fight, I used the habit patterns I had built in the schoolhouse in training. And I pushed the throttle all the way up, lit the afterburner, and then I just left it there, which worked great in Phoenix. In Misawa, that did not work because before I even got to the point where I would roll and start pulling back on the stick to point at the other aircraft, I broke the speed of sound, which I was supersonic, which sounds cool, but it is way faster than you should be going in that situation. And so I'm above the Mach. I do everything else the same as I had done before. So I roll the jet 90 degrees. I pull back on the stick. I hit 9 Gs, which right now we're all 1 G, the force of gravity. So 9 Gs is whatever you see on the bathroom scale today, multiply that by 9. That's what you feel like you weigh, which hurts to say the least. And also the big risk is a G-lock, which is a G-induced loss of consciousness because that force, because you're sitting upright in the aircraft in a turn this way, the force is pushing from your head towards your feet. And so it pushes the blood out of your head. It's stronger than your heart's strength to pump it back to your brain. And so we do some things. We wear a special suit. We do this unique breathing, all this stuff to help keep that up there and to be able to, I guess, keep breathing while you're under 9 Gs. But it's a knife's edge. You're walking the line. And if that G strain isn't that good, you get tired, you stop focusing on it. You're just not that proficient at it because you've only been flying the F-16 for a year. You can G-lock. And other F-16 pilots have unfortunately died because of that, because you pass out, your jet impacts the ground before you come back to. So it's a serious threat, and it's really driven home how big of a deal it is. And so we get taught all these things, and I was ready to pull 9 Gs, but normally in a flight like that, you'd only hit that for maybe 5 to 7 seconds. The jet starts to slow down, the Gs drop. You're able to point at the other aircraft. You're into like the short range engagement with the gun, and hopefully you win and it's over. But I went so fast because I just lit the throttle or lit the afterburner and left it there that I had so much energy on the aircraft that when I rolled and pulled, I hit 9 Gs, but then I just held it for a full 360-degree turn. So I held it for, more than 2 times as long as you normally would. And I was young and dumb, which later in my career, if I got close to that, I would ease off on the pull. I would pull back the throttle to slow the jet so that would drop. But I was so caught up in, I have to succeed, I have to prove myself in this new career, that I just kept pulling. And so I actually had light loss. You first get gray, where like all the color vision goes away, and then you get darkness and it will close in until you get tunnel vision until eventually you see nothing. And a split second later, you're unconscious. And I was at the seeing nothing point when my instructor made the radio call to end the flight because he could tell something was not right. So that's a serious story. Tells you a lot about what it's like to fly the F-16. But that also earned me my call sign because Mace stands for mock at circle entry, which that was hard to explain to non-fighter pilots. The circle part of it is just the turn circle of the other aircraft. You have to get on their same path in the air in order to shoot them. So we call that circle entry. So I was supersonic at that point when I shouldn't have been. So they named me Mace, mock at circle entry.
Mace is a badass call sign. You're
Thanks.
happy with it, right?
I love how it sounds. It sounds cool, but that was a traumatic day to say the
I can
least.
imagine.
But I
Right.
have a very, very different view on it now, 13 years later or 10 years, 12 years. I don't even know. It feels like forever ago. Than I did initially because I was very ashamed of making that big of a mistake that could have had that serious of a repercussion.